for me, I think I would tell people just check in. I mean, I think, one of my sweet friends was like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even have words to say because I know I've never experienced this, but just know I'm here if you need me. I think saying something in the essence of like, I'm just here if you need me is better than being like, well, I shouldn't say anything because I can't relate. You don't have to,
Right.
we don't all have to relate to issues to know what it feels like to be in a painful situation.
Life doesn't always turn out the way we want it to. Millions of people get seriously injured or ill every year, putting their lives on halt. This may cause some of you to lose your jobs, your health, and more importantly, your sense of purpose. I believe that no matter how hopeless and helpless you might feel right now, God still has a purpose for you. This show was created to help you find that purpose, to inspire you to not give up, and to find ways to find fulfillment and make your life meaningful. It does not matter how dim your past or present looks like. As long as you are breathing, you can always find a way to say, my future is alive. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Christine Waters, and I hope you enjoy this show. I'm really excited about our guest for this episode, but before I introduce her, I do want to mention a couple of things. First, if you haven't noticed, or if you're a new listener, I've been adding a song at the end of most of our episodes, and that will be a preview to a 5-song EP that I will be releasing soon. So if you'd like to give me some feedback on that, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at music@christinewaters.com. That's music@christinewaters.com. Second, if you've been enjoying these episodes or you think it might be helpful for someone else, please feel free to share them with anyone and also give the show a review on Apple Podcasts. That will help our ratings and spread the news for those that need these kinds of encouragement. All right, let's get to our guest for this week. LeAnne Lavander is a blogger and amazing designer who partners with her husband Derek on house projects. In 2016, Derek, who is also a patent attorney, got into a mysterious motorcycle accident, which we'll talk about in the interview. I don't want to give away too much about their story, so without further ado, let's welcome LeAnne Lavander.
Yeah, well, thank you again for having me. I'm really excited and just to honestly be given the chance to share our story and hopefully help other people. So for Derek and I, we're from Indiana, so Midwest, born and raised, and we got married when we were 26 years old out of college. Derek was in law school at the time, and I had graduated and was working, and we had moved down here to Indianapolis and was working, and very, very classic, newlyweds. We had only been married for a couple years. We really enjoy, and we still enjoy it, but it's definitely harder. We would design and renovate home spaces. So now that was just like on the side. After we got married, we purchased a little property here in Indy and ended up renovating it. Derek did all the work. I picked out the pillows. I did all the interior design stuff, and he did, all the manual labor to it. And so we'd been living there for a year and a half, and that really we lived in a tiny house, like I said, that he had renovated. So that consumed a lot of our weekends, was working on the house. And we do have a really good group of friends here that we enjoy hanging out with. So we do like to host parties and things like that. So we were always hosting a Memorial Day party and having friends over, camping out. And then, of course, visiting our families as well. So life has changed a lot. We were only married it was almost 3 years when the accident happened, but it was going perfectly smooth and well. Yeah.
Walk us through that day, like when the accident happened.
Yeah. So, just to kind of back up and let everyone know. So my husband he's a patent attorney. He's an engineer. His undergrad's in engineering. He did work at Harley Davidson for 4 years in their test engineering facility. So he had been riding motorcycles since he was 16. This was a pretty, I didn't grow up around motorcycles. It always made me a little bit nervous, but he wore all the gear and did all the things I'd actually surprised him with his dream bike the year before for his birthday, which now is like, just makes me sad.
Yeah.
But he did, pretty much rode his bike every day to work if it was nice enough outside to do so. So it was just a Wednesday morning, nothing crazy about it. It was a June 15th, 2016. He left for work at 6 a.m. Well, he left at 5:30. The accident, I believe, happened around 6. 6:20, I think, is what time they think it happened at. But yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. The one thing I do specifically remember is I woke up that morning and I said, "Hey, I think it's supposed to rain tonight. Are you sure you don't want to take the truck?" And he was like, "No, I'll be fine." And he kissed me on the head and he walked out. And I remember, I mean, it is crazy. Like when you go through a tragedy, how you can just you just remember, at least for me, I remember everything. I remember what I was wearing, waking up. So I went back to bed, and then at like around 7 a.m., he called my phone, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I bet maybe he forgot his laptop or something." But it had actually gone to voicemail. Like I didn't see that I had missed a call until it was too late. So I checked my voicemail, and it was a guy named David from the local hospital here called and just said, like, "Mrs. Lavender, like your husband's been in a serious accident. You need to get down here as soon as possible." So I, scrambled, tried to throw myself together and called back. And I just said, like, "What's going on? Like, can you tell me anything?" And he just said, I can't tell you anything. You just need to get down here." It's like, "Was he alive?" And he said, he is, I believe he said he is alive for now, but I might be adding that "for now" in there. But whatever it was a sense of like, oh, that's not good. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, he's fine. He's in, he's with the doctor. It was just like, you need to get here now.
Wow. Yeah.
So we live here in Indy. Our families don't live here. So I called his mom and then my parents. They both live about 2 hours away, and they started driving in to Indianapolis. And a couple hours into the, being at the emergency room, I was just waiting there. The doctors did come in and tell me that he had suffered from a spinal cord injury. And at the time, we didn't know anyone who was paralyzed. I knew what a spinal cord injury was, but my instant thought was like, oh, he's paralyzed from the waist down. And I remember even my first blog post, that's what I put, because I thought that that's what all paralysis means. But it's like, it's just so much more than that. It's so much more than that. So yeah, that's kind of the first few hours of
must have been crazy.
What had happened. It was crazy. But like I said, you can remember everything. It's crazy how it just stays in your mind like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when I hit my head, it was like a split second too when it happened, when I hit my head in 2013. And it was like weird how your life can change in that split second when the accident happens. But
do you remember stuff before that, or is it pretty...
Yeah, I do. Which is weird because some people who have concussions, everybody gets affected differently, but I do remember everything, even the process. I didn't have any memory loss, which is good, but in a sense it's like, maybe I should have just slept through this, but no. But yeah, I was just doing laundry and I bent down to pick up a sock and I hit my head on a really sharp corner or a solid wood corner. And that was nuts. But so when did you find out that he was going to be paralyzed for good?
Yeah, pretty much right then. I mean, they came in. So I remember he the doctor said that, and I was able to go back and give Derek a kiss before he headed back to his surgery. They're like, he needs to get surgery now. And so then they must have been prepping him, because as they were prepping him, the surgeon came. His name was Dr. Savage. I remember thinking that was a really funny doctor's name.
Oh my gosh.
That they believe it was shattered and that there was no chance of him walking again. And I'm just like, I'm such an optimistic person that it was just like, oh, we're going to do this. Like, it's okay. Yeah. We've got this. Not really even, I mean, I don't think it really sunk in for us until about 6 months after he got out of the hospital of like, oh no, like this is permanent, and these are the adjustments we're going to need to make. So he did have a lot with most motorcycle injuries. He did have a lot of other injuries as well. So he broke both of his arms, both of his hands. He busted the back of his skull. His lungs had collapsed. His nose, he broke his eye socket. He's lost hearing in his right ear. He was really banged up. So no one, at this point, they don't really know what happened. I know some people are going to be like, what happened? He was on an exit ramp getting off to go to work. So he was like less than a half a mile from his office. And where the exit ramp is at, people are merging on as he's trying to get off. And I'm guessing there was just a mix up in traffic. No one really saw it. So, or at least the people who saw it claimed they didn't know what happened.
Wow.
And he hit the like it was an underpass, and he slid across that cement underpass, and there was like a cement pole thing there he hit.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Thank God he survived. I mean, it could have definitely killed him.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how did he take it? How do you think he took the injury at first and then over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first couple weeks in the ICU, he was very out of it. I mean, they keep you pretty sedated in there. And then once he came to, I remember the day that they kind of told him of his injuries. I actually have it on video of us trying to explain to him what was happening. And he's just, his personality, he's very like, okay, we're going to do this. I got to, just nose to the grind. We're going to figure this out. But that's not to say it isn't discouraging. We haven't had bouts of depression and other things like that happen, when you find out.
Yeah.
Your whole life has changed. So he was in the ICU for a month. And then we transferred up to, it's now called the Shirley Ryan. I think it's either ability or agility lab up in Chicago. So we were there for 3 months, just learning to put socks on and how to roll over and, all the things that come. So with I should have said this earlier, with his spinal cord injury, he's at T4. Wherever you injure your spinal cord at, that's where you're going to lose function at.
I see.
It is just, so it's totally different depending on, so some people you might see have full abs and can, move around, and they're usually the ones doing all the crazy stuff. It's because they have ab function. There's, the quads who maybe don't have all hand function, little hand function. There's some quads like Christopher Reeve who have no hand function at all. Derek is a T4, so he's paralyzed from the armpits down. So he has no feeling or movement. The hardest thing for him is he has no core, so he can't, turning his balance is a little bit off, but he is able to drive now and he works full time.
Okay.
He's very independent, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. And how did you take it? Like after a while, you said you went through depression. I was talking to my friend, he's my co-writer on some songs that we've written together, but he's also a psychotherapist. And he was saying that how you pretty much have to go through the grieving process of your life changing completely. Did you notice that with your experience?
Absolutely. And I think we had listened to a sermon. It must have been a couple weeks. We were in rehab at the time. And they were talking about how no matter what happens in your life, like the hardest thing you've ever gone through is the hardest thing you've ever gone through. So you are going to grieve that as if it is the hardest thing you've ever gone through. So when you're 16 and your boyfriend breaks up with you, that initial grief stage can feel just as traumatic as like a parent dying, because that's the hardest thing that's ever happened to you. Yeah. So that was that part of like learning how the grief stages work and processing it well. And then also realizing that like when friends, we didn't know anyone at the time who'd ever gone through anything like this. But, as humans, we want to relate. And so we did have people, relating with us of like, oh yeah. I mean, literally one time someone said like, I remember I sprained my ankle and was on crutches for like 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, but that's like a little different, but I get it, because if at the time, if that was the hardest thing, you are going to use that to try to relate to people. So yeah, I think, how did I initially handle it? I think I initially was like cheerleader, rah, rah, we're going to do this. And then I slowly kind of backed up and realized like, okay, stuffing down these emotions is not going to help me process this. Like I need to like, if something is painful, I need to run towards it and process it and then move on instead of just stuffing it down.
Do you think writing your blog has helped you process some of that?
Yeah, I mean, the blog, honestly, it slowed down a little bit just because it's like, I feel like we are kind of through that processing stage. especially initially. So we had the house blog. It was just to like monitor, just to keep our friends and family up to date with like the renovations and things like that of our house. And then after Derek's accident, we like swung that into just me keeping people updated with what was going on. And I didn't even intend it to turn into anything. It really was just like, okay, people want to know how to pray for us. This is a really simple way to just cut to it. I'll just update every 2 to 3 days. People can specifically pray for his left lung. They can specifically pray for this trauma or this doctor or whatever. And it was I think it was helpful for me to process it. I really enjoy writing, but also to like just keep everyone accurately up to date and not like, oh, I heard the Lavenders did this, or I heard this is happening. Like it was a really good way to keep people in tune with what was happening. So
that's cool. Yeah. I read in one of your posts, this was about 2 years into the journey, and you said a line needs to be drawn at some point. There's a difference between playing the victim and processing, and we all need to be careful in not letting our trials and circumstances give us an excuse to wallow. I thought that was really good, and I was wondering, like, how did you draw that line? I think this was when you were deciding, okay, he's not making any more progress, we got to stop physical therapy. And it seems like the transition from trying to get somewhat back to a previous normal to a new normal or to a new reality.
Yeah. I think, it can be really easy. We all do it. We all wallow in situations that just don't seem fair. And I mean, I'm going to sound like my mother. Life isn't fair, and that's just how it is. But moving forward and just figuring out like, okay, what can I do here? Wallowing only hurts yourself. It only hurts yourself. No one else benefits from it. You don't benefit from it. And the one thing that I have like really kind of been learning, even especially this past year, is just like, we all have this like plan A for our life, this dream that we want is going to happen. And what happens when our plan B happens and it isn't plan A? I mean, I think we're so used to seeing these like amazing before and afters, like, oh, they were injured and then they walk again, or they found out they can't have kids and then all of a sudden they miraculously got pregnant. Like that doesn't always happen. There's a reason that those are miracle stories. Is because for most people, your plan B isn't your plan A, and it isn't going to be as good. And I think for me, of just being like, okay, well, this is what God has given us, and we still have a lot of things to be thankful for. We always have something to be thankful for. In Derek's situation, we could wallow on the fact that he can't walk, but we can also praise God that he has function of his hands. I mean, it was literally like 3 inches up higher. If he would have slid up 3 inches higher, he would have lost function of his hands. And there are a lot of, I've now 4 years into this, we've met a lot of couples, there's a lot of quad couples out there, and life is significantly harder for them. And I need to be thankful that, that Derek has functions of his hands. And I think just trying to turn that into like, it's okay if some days you just need to eat ice cream and be sad, and that's fine. I'm not saying you can never be sad about, about what happened. It's discouraging and it's frustrating, but choosing for your whole life story to revolve around that and to not be able to turn that into something good, it's just a tragedy. It really is. Yeah.
This news that you had that you just can't, he just wasn't making any progress anymore. What do you think was the thing that you hung on to? How did you come about to deciding, okay, we just got to endure this. There might be something better on the other side.
I think for us, community helped a lot in like kind of communicating with people what we needed and help wise, because when people rally behind you and you're able to tell them like, listen, I am feeling really discouraged about this XYZ. Can someone please help me? It is so encouraging. And that's one thing I've learned too, is like people just want to help you. And at some point we had to kind of come to grips that like, okay, he's not going to walk again. We did have to make that decision. Like, are we done with rehab? Is this, are we just going to move forward? And honestly, not everyone agreed with our decision. They felt like we were giving up. But like I said, at some point you need to do what's best for you and your family. And well, especially talking for Derek, specifically for him, he needs to do what's best for him. And he's like, I remember him telling me when we were trying to make this decision, he's like, I have all these dreams of being, a great father, a great husband, a great patent attorney, and a good Christian man. And none of them require me to walk. None of them do. And I don't want to spend all my time trying to get back to something that isn't really going to impact all these other goals I have for my life. So, that's kind of the decision we made. And I mean, he hasn't regained any function. Now my heart goes out to those people who, if it's an incomplete injury, if you look at Derek's x-rays, it is just crushed. Like, I don't, unless technology speeds up, which who knows? I mean, they might come up with science, they might come up with something, but there's some people out there that they are slowly getting function back. It just takes a lot of time. And that would be a hard decision to decide if you keep pouring in time and money into that. So,
yeah, for sure. And so you also said this, you said sometimes enduring is truly the only option at the time. So surviving is just one step closer to thriving. What do you think has been the benefit of enduring through that process?
I think it's made us stronger people. I think it's made our marriage stronger. We are a lot better. I mean, we'd only been, like I said, we'd only been married 3 years at the time, but we're pretty in sync with each other now, communication wise. And I don't know if we would have learned that lesson without the accident. And I will say, it's like, I feel like this past 6 months, I've been like backing up my words a little bit and saying like, sorry about that. I think initially in my writing, especially like the first year or two, I was like, wow, we've learned so many great lessons. We wouldn't take this back. And I'm like, now that we're, I've calmed down a little bit. I'm like, we would take it back. Like, let me get that straight. Like, obviously we would prefer this to have never had happened for sure.
Right.
But the lessons that we've learned and the people we've met, I mean, we've met a lot of really neat people through this and gotten to talk to people and share our testimony. We wouldn't have ever had that chance otherwise. So.
It's good. You make something out of what you experience, right? So, and
there's only one way. I mean, if you don't ever share that life lesson with people and you don't ever let anyone know what's going on, I don't know. I think our stories can encourage other people in a lot of ways. And
right. Exactly. Yep. And so right now you both are facing a new challenge.
We are.
You just got that bad news last month, yeah?
Yeah. So we had been trying to have kids for a few years now, and we just finished up after a couple surgeries. We ended up doing the IVF procedure, and they told us last month that we won't be able to have children. And it has nothing to do with the accident. So it just has felt a little bit like a double whammy.
Yeah.
I think I kind of always thought like, oh yeah, people have their thing, like, oh, we're the couple with the spinal cord injury, or Derek's dad tragically passed away when he was 25 years old out of nowhere. And it's like, oh, maybe that's your really hard life hardship. And man, it just keeps piling on. I feel like we just keep getting hit with stuff. So, so that happened last month, and we're just trying to process and figure out kind of what our next steps are.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed. We're really disappointed.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. So do you feel like you're going through the same process, part of it again, in a different way?
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, just like every trial is so different. I think I was telling my mom, this feels different in the situation that like when Derek's accident happened, everybody knew. It's very noticeable. Like whenever we go out in public, people are like, obviously something happened. I mean, people will often ask him like, what happened, man? People you don't see infertility. It's not a physical thing. You don't see that woman crying as she passes the maternity aisle in Target and know what happened. Like, it's just like, it feels a little bit more, like I should be over it by now. Like, I just need to get over this. And it's just, I know for any woman or honestly family out there, I think we lump women into being sad, but Derek's like, I'm sad too. Like, I wanted kids too, just check in on those people, that, have gone through hard times. Cause it takes a long time, if never, to get over. And, yeah.
I mean, I'm not married, so I'm not familiar with these things, although I am from a family of 7 kids. But I mean, I'm sure it's really hard to approach, like, what do you say to someone who's going through this, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone can relate, right? We've all, there are things that you have wanted that haven't happened. And I don't
Hmm.
know what that is, but you know how that feels to like I would give any amount of money to make this happen, or I would do this to make it happen. It's just not, that's not how that works. And
Yeah.
um, for me, I think I would tell people just check in. I mean, I think, one of my sweet friends was like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even have words to say because I know I've never experienced this, but just know I'm here if you need me. I think saying something in the essence of like, I'm just here if you need me is better than being like, well, I shouldn't say anything because I can't relate. You don't have to,
Right.
we don't all have to relate to issues to know what it feels like to be in a painful situation.
That's true. No, I remember. I, I say this story a lot because it touched my heart so much, because when I was still like really terrible concussion, right? I was still recovering. First few months, I was so sensitive to light. I was so sensitive to sound, and even just trying to have a normal conversation was too much. So I couldn't do it. And my friend came and visited me, and she was trying to talk to me, but I was like, I can't talk. I just can't. So all she did was held my hand for a while, and that brought me comfort. And she didn't have to say anything, and she was just there. So yeah, you're right. You know,
That
just
is such
showing
a good
that
example.
someone's there for you. I was just looking through your website, and I was like moved to tears, literally, because I was looking at how you have that, you're now like a consultant for making your homes accessible. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of these like little baby businesses that I'm like, I love doing it. I just
Mm-hmm.
haven't, I've had a few clients and it's up, but we'll see. Um, I mean, this is going to sound terrible. There have been portions and things of my life that I was waiting to find out if we'd have kids or not. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
this design thing was one of them. And I'm like, I don't think I'd have time for this if we had kids. But I'm planning on getting a little bit more serious about it. So basically the concept is just to help people in accessible design. Um, Derek has the eye for like laying out spaces, and he could walk into a home and say, hey, if you tore this wall down, did this or this, we could kind of reroute these things. He's got that engineer brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do more of the styling. So we have gotten to help a few families of just creating accessible spaces around their wheelchair. Because it's so, I think accessible design, people just think like, oh, now you have to move into a nursing home, or it's going to look like a nursing home, or really
Mm-hmm.
dorky. And that is not the case. Like you can create beautiful, incredible, universal spaces. And I mean, Derek often jokes like, we're just 50 years ahead of our friends. Like every person is going to know someone who has a walking need at some point. They aren't going to
Right,
want to do
right.
stairs. Like that is going to be a fact. So we just like, yeah, have been helping do like kitchens or bathrooms, things like that, to people my age building these beautiful homes and don't even think like, wait, if this is my forever home, I should probably make sure that a wheelchair or a walker or some kind of assistance thing could be used in here. So we are here
Yeah.
to help if anyone needs it.
That's what I think is really cool, because that's why I was moved to tears, because I was like, here's this couple who went through something so terrible, right? And now they're using their experience to help other people, and I was like, this is a great example to follow, you know? Because some people they just give up and like, okay, I'll just sit on the couch. I can't do anything anymore.
No, yeah, that's fair. It has been neat to like re-figure out. I mean, we've had to come up with new like hobbies. Like, we
Yeah.
enjoyed golfing before. I was just saying, with anything, even you've experienced this, like you just have to rework some ideas, like whether it's your job, your hobbies,
Yeah.
spending time with your friends, what that looks like. So don't give up. Just
Yeah.
you just got to rethink things.
Right. Very good. Any other words of advice for people that are like new to this process of injuries?
I think maybe twofold is just do the next best decision for you and your family, the next right thing. You don't have to figure it out all at once. It's a long process.
Right.
and give yourself some grace. I think that we can get discouraged when things don't happen quickly because we're in the Amazon Prime, mentality of like, this should happen in 2 days. Where's my cleaner I just ordered?
Or now, right?
Healing takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. So give yourself some grace.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Ooh, and my last piece of advice, just make sure you communicate with people what you need, because people cannot help you if you don't tell them. I think that has been really helpful for us. My brother-in-law told me when we were in the hospital, like, people just want to help. So you just got to tell them, or let them help you.
Definitely. Yeah. Very good. Great advice. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for chatting. I appreciate it. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Thank you. What an amazing story that was of just overcoming your difficult situation and facing it head on and making the most out of it. I hope you are encouraged by the story of Derek and LeAnne Lavander. I do have 3 takeaways for you based on our conversation. Number 1, it's okay to be sad about your situation. Just don't stay in wallowing mode. Number 2, other people would love to help you, but you do have to tell them how they can help you. And number 3, just do the next best decision for you and your family, the next right thing, and then you don't have to figure it out all at once. Give yourself some grace. If you want to find out more about the Lavanders, you can visit their website at lavenderslongshot.com. That's lavender, the flower, with an S at the end, and then LONGSHOT.com. You can also follow LeAnne on Instagram. Her handle is Lavender's Long Shot. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe. Also, please don't forget to give us a review on iTunes. I'd also love to connect with you through Instagram. My handle there is Christine W Music. That's Christine with a CH, the letter W, and then music. You can also find some free music from me if you go to christinewaters.com/free. That said, let me leave you with another song from my soon-to-be released EP. This song is called If Not Now. I hope you enjoy it. Until next time.
I've lost all my leaves to this howling wind. Afraid this heavy rain has filled my heart with pain. How long before you calm this raging storm? How long before this darkness turns to dawn? I hear your lullaby, and I'm holding fast, secure. I hear your lullaby in my darkest hour. I hear your lullaby, and my fears subside. I hear your lullaby, and I'm holding fast, secure to the one true vine. God, if not now, will you cleave your hand to mine? Will you still my heart with yours, lest I break, lest I fall far down? I hear your lullaby in my darkest hour. I hear your lullaby, and my fears subside. I hear your lullaby, and I'm holding fast, secure to the one true vine.